Close your eyes for a moment. Let the noise of the day begin to fall away. There is something happening inside you, right now, beneath the surface of every waking hour. A quiet but relentless hum, your mind always running. It is 3 in the morning. The room is dark and completely still. But your mind is not still. It is racing through yesterday's conversation, rehearsing tomorrow's problems, cataloging everything that could possibly go wrong. This is what overthinking feels like from the inside. One thought pulls another. That thought pulls 3 more. Before you realize what has happened, you are miles away from the present moment, lost inside a maze of your own making. Philosophers have wondered about the mind for thousands of years. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." But what happens when the thinking never stops? What happens when being becomes nothing but a relentless, exhausting storm of thought? The ancient Stoics knew this feeling well. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journals that the mind tends to wander into suffering. He reminded himself, again and again, to return to the present, to stay with what is real. Most of us believe that if we think hard enough, long enough, we can solve anything. We treat our worries like puzzles. We turn them over and over, searching for the answer that will finally bring us peace. But the answer never comes. Overthinking is not just a mental experience. You can feel it in your body, a tightness in the chest, a jaw that never quite unclenches, shoulders that carry the weight of every unresolved thought you have ever had. The what-if question: what if I had said something different? What if things go wrong tomorrow? What if I am not enough? These are not questions seeking answers. They are traps disguised as inquiry, keeping you locked in a loop. You replay the conversation. You said this. They said that, but maybe they meant something else. Maybe your tone was wrong. Maybe they are still thinking about it. Hours later, you are still in that room, reliving every word. The perfectionist and the overthinker are often the same person. Every choice feels enormous. Every decision carries the risk of being wrong. So you delay, you analyze, you prepare. And while you are preparing, life quietly continues without you. Neuroscience has a name for the part of the brain that never turns off: the default mode network. It activates whenever you are not focused on a task. It wanders. It worries. It runs simulations of futures that may never arrive. There is a cruel irony in overthinking. The mind exhausts itself trying to find certainty in an uncertain world. It works and works and works, growing more tired with each cycle, yet refusing to stop. Rest feels dangerous. Stillness feels like surrender. Buddhism speaks of the monkey mind, an ancient metaphor for a consciousness that swings from branch to branch, never still, never settled, chattering, grasping, always moving toward the next thought before it has finished with the current one. There is a difference between thinking and being trapped in thinking. One is a tool, the other is a cage. The tragedy is that most people cannot tell which one they are inside. The cage looks so much like a mind. Consider how many hours you have spent worrying about things that never happened. Studies suggest that roughly 85% of what we dread never comes to pass. And yet the mind prepares for it, rehearses it, suffers through it anyway. The mind evolved to predict danger. In ancient times, this kept us alive. A rustle in the grass could mean a predator. Hesitation could mean death. The anxious brain was the surviving brain, but we no longer live in the grass. Yet we carry that ancient alarm system into offices, into bedrooms, into quiet Sunday mornings. The brain cannot distinguish between a lion and a difficult email. Both trigger the same flood of cortisol, the same racing heart, the same relentless thought spiral. Kierkegaard wrote about the dizziness of freedom. When we have too many choices, too many possibilities, the mind does not feel liberated. It feels overwhelmed. It spins. It reaches for certainty in a world that offers none, and the spinning becomes suffering. You tell yourself you will stop. You tell yourself you will relax, let go, stop turning things over, and then a new thought arrives. Quiet at first, then louder, and you follow it, because that is what the mind has always done. But here is where the story begins to shift. The fact that you are watching this, that you are asking why you cannot stop thinking, means something important. Awareness is not the problem. Awareness, it turns out, is the first door out. The mind creates a loop. A thought appears, and instead of letting it pass, you hold it. You turn it over. You examine it from every angle. You ask why. You ask what if. And before long, you are no longer thinking, you are trapped inside the thought itself. There is a word for this: analysis paralysis. When you think so much about a decision that the decision never gets made. When the act of considering becomes the obstacle itself. The mind, trying to protect you, ends up holding you completely still. What if you had said something different? What if you had chosen another path? The mind replays old moments, searching for the perfect version of the past that never existed. But the past is sealed. No amount of thinking will reopen it. The mind builds walls out of its own thoughts. Each worry becomes a brick. Each fear becomes a door that refuses to open. You are not in a prison anyone built for you. You are living inside one the mind constructed, quietly, over years. Your body knows before your mind admits it. The tightness in your chest, the tension across your shoulders, the shallow breath you do not notice you are holding. The body speaks in signals when the mind is too busy talking to itself to listen. Mental exhaustion is real, though it leaves no visible mark. You can sleep 8 hours and wake up tired because the mind never fully stopped. It kept processing. It kept rehearsing. It kept solving problems that have no solution. That is the quiet cost of overthinking. We think that if we plan enough, if we think enough, nothing can go wrong. Control feels like safety. But the belief that thinking harder will prevent all harm, that belief is itself an illusion. Life does not obey even the most careful plan. You see someone else's life and compare it quietly to your own. They seem certain. They seem at peace. Your mind begins its familiar work, measuring, judging, cataloging where you fall short. But you are comparing your inside to their outside. That comparison is never fair. Beneath the loops of thought, there is usually something simpler. A fear. Not the complex philosophical fear you think you have, but something raw, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being left, the fear of being seen and found wanting. You return to a memory from years ago, something said in passing, something done without thinking. The mind holds onto it like evidence, building a case against yourself. But memory is not a perfect record. It is a story the mind keeps rewriting to fit its current mood. And then there is the future, which does not yet exist but lives vividly inside your head. Worst-case scenarios laid out like a map. The mind rehearses catastrophe, believing that if you can imagine the pain, you can somehow avoid it. But anticipation is not protection. Life is happening now, in the room you are sitting in the air moving around you, in the warmth of whatever light is touching your skin. But the mind is elsewhere, pulling toward the past, pressing into the future, anywhere but this quiet, present moment. Silence is not emptiness. It is something else entirely. When you allow a moment without noise, without reaching for a thought to fill the space, you may notice that there is something underneath, steady and quiet, that was always there waiting for you to find it. What happens when the thinking finally stops? Not through force, forcing the mind creates more resistance, more noise, but when, in some small and unexpected moment, a thought simply ends and you do not immediately reach for another. There is a softness there, a brief, unexpected relief. The body is always in the present. It does not drift. It does not ruminate. Right now, your feet are on a surface, your lungs are expanding, your heart is beating without your instruction. The body is a doorway back into the now, if you choose to walk through it. Step outside for a moment, or imagine doing so. A tree does not think about tomorrow's storm. Water does not rehearse how to flow. Nature exists fully in what is, not in what might be, or what should have been. It simply is, completely and without apology. Presence is not a technique. It is not a skill you need to learn from a book or a teacher. It is what remains when you stop trying to be somewhere else. When you stop reaching backward or forward and allow, just for this breath, to be here. Imagine watching clouds move across a wide, open sky. They appear, drift, and disappear, and the sky does not chase them, does not hold them, does not mourn their passing. Thoughts can move the same way. You are the sky, not the clouds, never the clouds. the first step out of the loop is not a dramatic one. It is not a revelation or a breakthrough. It is something small, noticing a thought, and choosing, just once, not to follow it. That single moment of space between thought and reaction, that is where everything can change. There are moments, brief, unannounced, when the mind goes quiet all on its own. A glimpse of stillness between the noise. These moments are not accidents. They are reminders of what you are beneath the thinking, something peaceful, something that was never actually lost, only covered. You have been carrying this weight for a long time, the constant loop, the endless review of what was said, what was done, what might still go wrong. And somewhere deep inside, you are tired, genuinely tired of your own mind. Here is the strange paradox at the center of overthinking. The harder you try to stop the thoughts, the louder they become. Fighting your mind is like pressing both hands against a swinging door. The resistance only creates more force pushing back against you. A river does not fight the rocks in its path. It does not stop to argue with each stone or decide whether the obstacle is fair. It simply finds the way around, beneath, between. It keeps moving. There is a lesson in that quiet persistence. What if you did not try to stop the thoughts at all? What if you simply watched them, the way you might watch clouds pass across an open sky? Not chasing them, not pushing them away. Just noticing, just witnessing without attaching your entire identity to each one. Overthinkers often judge themselves for overthinking. They think about how much they think, then feel ashamed of that too. It becomes a spiral within a spiral. Layer after layer of self-criticism wrapped around the original anxiety. This is not a character flaw. It is a learned pattern, and patterns can be unlearned. Compassion is not weakness. Treating yourself with the same gentleness you would offer a frightened child, that is not giving up or making excuses. It is the most practical tool available to you. A mind that feels safe thinks more clearly. A heart that is not attacking itself can finally breathe. The breath has always been here. Through every anxious night, through every spiral of what-ifs, through every moment when the future felt impossible, the breath continued. It asks nothing of you. It does not require that you have everything figured out. Inhale, exhale, that has always been enough to survive the moment. When the mind will not rest, the body sometimes knows what to do. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the weight of your hands resting in your lap. The body exists only in the present moment. It cannot worry about tomorrow. It is always and only right here. Let it be your anchor. Ancient philosophers called it the wandering mind. The Stoics wrote about it. Buddhist teachers devoted lifetimes to understanding it. This restlessness you feel is not a modern problem or a personal failure. It is one of the oldest questions of being human. You are not broken. You are ancient. You are asking the oldest question. Let go of the idea that the goal is a perfectly calm and silent mind. That mind does not exist. Even the most practiced meditators report thoughts arising. The goal is not absence of noise. The goal is changing your relationship to the noise, learning to hear it without becoming it. This moment, right now, contains everything you actually need, not the moment you imagined, not the version where things went differently. This one, the light in this room, the sound of your own breathing, the small, unremarkable, irreplaceable fact of being alive in this exact second, that is real. Everything else is narrative. Quiet does not always announce itself. It arrives in small, almost invisible moments. The pause before you speak, the second between songs, the space inside a long exhale. These small openings are not empty. They are full of something the noise was covering. Learn to find them. Learn to stay just a little longer. Some thoughts keep returning because they carry something unresolved. Not because you are weak, but because something in you still needs to be heard. The mind circles back to what has not yet been processed. Sometimes the kindest thing is not to silence the thought, but to ask it, "What are you trying to tell me?" Overthinking is often a form of protection. If you can predict every possible outcome, maybe nothing will catch you off guard. Maybe you can prevent the pain before it arrives. But the mind cannot actually prevent most of what we fear. And the cost of trying, the constant vigilance, is an exhaustion all its own. Uncertainty does not mean danger. It simply means you do not know yet. The mind interprets the unknown as threat, filling in blanks with its worst predictions. But most of the unknowns in your life have resolved quietly, without catastrophe. The story your mind wrote rarely matched the one that actually unfolded. The practice is not about getting it right once. It is about returning to your breath when you drift, returning to the present when the mind pulls you into the future, returning to yourself after every spiral. The returning is the practice. There is no arriving. There is only the grace of coming back again. Even the longest night ends. Even the most relentless spiral eventually loses momentum. You have made it through every difficult night so far, every one of them. Whatever the mind has thrown at you, you have survived it. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, everything. You are more resilient than the loudest voice inside you. The mind that overthinks is also the mind capable of great depth, great empathy, great creativity. The same sensitivity that makes you spiral is the same sensitivity that allows you to truly feel, to notice beauty others miss, to care deeply. The goal is not to become less. It is to carry that depth more gently. You do not have to solve yourself today. You do not have to arrive at some final understanding of who you are or why you are this way. You only have to take the next small step, the next breath, the next moment of noticing. Moving through life is not a problem to be solved. It is something to be lived. The mind that cannot rest is still a mind full of life, full of questions that matter, full of care for things that deserve to be cared for. Be patient with it. Be patient with yourself. The quiet you are looking for has never been far away. It has been here all along, waiting beneath the noise.